Hello, everyone. Good evening. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the third annual Instruction to Industry Virtual Career Expo event for high school students. My name is Arnaz Dodavala. I am a career and technical education specialist at Loudoun County Public Schools, and I will be the moderator for this evening's topic, which is focused on tourism, hospitality, and recreation career clusters. The Hospitality and Tourism Cluster prepares learners for careers in the management, marketing, and operations of restaurants and other food services, as well as lodging, attractions, recreational events, and travel-related services. According to the CTE Trailblazers.org, the overall expected growth rate for hospitality and tourism career cluster in Virginia is 12% by 2026. So you're in the right place. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our panelists today for taking the time to share their diverse perspectives on the current and future workforce in the hospitality and tourism cluster. These industry professionals have a wealth of knowledge, and we encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to learn from them. Hopefully, after leaving tonight, you will feel more knowledgeable and prepared for your post-secondary future. A little format session info. This panel discussion will run from 5 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. We will start with introductions and then get right to the conversation. During the session, students, you are encouraged to share your favorite moments and what you find interesting on social media using the hashtag instruction to industry tagline. Again, that's hashtag hashtag instruction to industry. At the end of the webinar, a link to an exit survey will be sent to you. This survey will provide you with the ability to share your feedback on the panel discussion. Please make sure to stay until the end to ensure the survey link is sent to you. Also remember, you can come to the Career Exhibitors Fair on Saturday, February 17th at the Dulles Expo Center, North Hall, Chantilly, and speak directly with employers. I'll remind you of that again at the end. At this time, I would like to welcome our distinguished panelists to introduce themselves. Just a little heads up, we are waiting on two more panelists. So we currently have two panelists. Feel free to introduce yourselves. Ryan, Tiffany?
All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So my name's Ryan Becker. I am the Human Resources and Finance Manager for Alexandria Soccer Association. I grew up in the area. I was born and raised in Fairfax, Centerville area. I live in Alexandria now, and I work with Alexandria Soccer to oversee their human resources and finance for the organization.
Thank you. And Tiffany?
Hi, everyone. So I'm a senior at W.T. Woodson High School, which is located in Fairfax, Virginia, and is part of the FCPS school, district. And ever since July, I've been working as a marketing intern for Thompson Hospitality, which is a company located in Reston. And I used to go into the office, but now I currently work remotely with them.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. And when our other two panelists come in, we'll give them the opportunity to introduce themselves as well. For now, let's go ahead and dive into our questions. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourselves. And panelists, since we have two panelists, we'll give you up to 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes to answer your question. Take your time. That's basically what I'm trying to tell you. On the first question, was your career journey fairly straightforward, or did you take a more circuitous route to your position? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
I can go ahead and start. I think my path in my career was definitely not straightforward. I think in going through high school and then going through college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And, even getting close to graduating college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. So my first job that I ever had was as a summer camp counselor with Fairfax County Park Authority. And I was just doing that. It was the summer after my senior year of high school, going into college, just really looking to kind of do something and make some money before going off to college. And I wasn't really thinking about that as a career move. But I did that for a summer. I really enjoyed it. I came back for a couple more summers, and it was one of those things where I just kind of kept coming back to it because I knew that I was enjoying what I was doing. And, I again wasn't a strategic career move or anything like that, but I just kept coming back to it. And then as I was going through college, I continued my work as a camp counselor, working as a site director, area supervisor, things like that. And that's where it sort of started to change, where I realized, like, what, maybe I can actually kind of make a career out of this. And so that's where, I ended up going to grad school. I studied sport and recreation leadership in graduate school. I worked for a youth soccer club in grad school. And that's, again, where I really kind of started to shift and realize, like, this can be more than just a summer job. And I had the opportunity to work for some great places. I've worked for nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations. Before joining Alexandria Soccer, I worked for the Washington Nationals. So I've seen kind of like the Major League Baseball side of things and the local community organization side of things. And I think, I sort of fell into it, where there's a lot of people who know exactly what they want to be doing, and they follow that path. And I think for me, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I fell into it, and I've really enjoyed it, and I'm excited for the future there.
Well, Ryan, I have a follow-up question. That's a very interesting journey, and it looks like you just stayed focused with your hobby, your passion that you call it. But for our young listeners right now, I'm curious, was your first summer camp counselor job, did it pay, if I may ask?
It did pay. So that
Yes.
that summer camp counselor job did pay. I did have a couple internships that did not pay, so I had a little bit of both there. But yeah, the camp counselor job was a paid position, so that was nice. But I also, in a couple of the internships that I had that I didn't get paid to do that, I still learned a lot, and it was a good experience there for sure.
That's good. Thank you. Right, the power of volunteering, it should never be overlooked. Tiffany?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tiffany, would you like to share?
Yeah, so my career journey was pretty straightforward just because I am a high schooler. So this isn't related to like hospitality or marketing, but previously I used to work at a Taekwondo place as a summer camp teacher. But and then over this summer during July, I was having a little bit of a rough patch because I was applying to all of these different like part-time jobs like scooping ice cream and things like that, and I've gotten rejected to every single one. So I actually checked on my high school's college and career center, which is like probably a lot of FCPS high schools have that available. So I would definitely recommend students to look out for that. But I actually checked out my high school's college and career center, and they have like internship opportunities and extracurricular opportunities. So one of them was Thompson Hospitality for a high school internship position, which I applied for. And then I went through 2 interviews, I believe, and then I got the position. So yeah, I would say it was pretty straightforward.
Well, Tiffany, I have to give you kudos to actually reaching out to your career counselor, because so many of our students don't know where they are located or have never met them. So thank you for saying that, definitely go visit them, meet them, put a face with your name with a face, right?
Yeah, I definitely feel like they're a group at my school that's a little bit um underlooked just because like they are really helpful and
Mhm.
there's always like new opportunities that people should have access to and they're really accessible by posting like all of these different opportunities. So I think personally they helped me a lot. So
Thank you so much. And our next panelist, Miss Leah Ross. Leah, if you don't mind introducing yourself a little bit, and then we can dive into our first question about what your career journey. Was it pretty straightforward, or did you take some turns and winding road? What did it look like? Thank you.
There you go. My name is Leah Ross, and currently I am one of the 2 work-based learning specialists for Fairfax County Public Schools. But in my other life, I actually majored in hotel and restaurant management and got 2 culinary degrees, and managed restaurants, was a private chef, did catering, actually started my own catering business in middle school, and have continued doing private catering events my whole life. And I can honestly say my journey was definitely not straightforward, especially not when you figure in the coming to education side of it. I really thought going through college, I was going to be an event planner and marketer for an ecotourism resort in the rainforest of Costa Rica. That was my plan. That was my goal. I had that job in hand when I was getting ready to graduate. And then life took a massive left turn when my mom got very, very sick, and I didn't feel like I could move to another country while that was going on. So no regrets, but it's definitely a path not taken. And then I was a guest speaker. I was in the process of opening a new restaurant in California, and I was a guest speaker in a hospitality class at a high school. And at the end of the day, the teacher looked at me, and I still remember her name because teachers can change your life, Cheryl Obayashi, and she said, have you ever thought about being a teacher? And I said, no, both my parents were college professors. Absolutely not. And a year later, there I was in a classroom and teaching hospitality and culinary arts. And 24 years later, I'm still doing all of the things, just not necessarily the way I thought I was going to be doing all of the things.
That's an amazing story, and I love the fact that life does have some surprises for us, and they're not always bad. They could take you to some certain heights. So thank you for being here, Leah. Really appreciate that. All right. So let's go to our next second question. What technical skills, hard skills, abilities, and personal attributes, which would include your soft skills, are essential to the success in your job and your field? And who would like to go first? All right.
I can
Ryan.
go for it. So I think it's a good question, in talking about the hard skills and the soft skills. And I think both are important. And I think it's important to have those hard skills that are, specific to the job or the field or the industry that you're looking to get into. But I think, honestly, those soft skills are extremely, extremely, extremely important because, you can be, and thinking about my job with like finance, for example, I can be great at finance, but if I don't have the soft skills to really be able to interact with people, especially when you're talking about tourism, hospitality, and recreation, like you're interacting with people all the time, whether it's people that you're working with, whether it's, guests or customers or, people that are coming to your events or the things that you're putting on. I think those soft skills are extremely important. So being a people person and being an effective communicator is something that really goes a long way. And I think something that happens a lot in this industry is, you even if your job is not necessarily a customer service job, there's a lot of aspects of customer service in what you do. And so being able to, answer questions with a smile on your face. And, even if you've answered the same question 100 times in a day, it's the first time that someone is asking that question. And so I think that's one of the things that it's important to kind of keep that in mind, where, you're focusing on the experience of other people a lot of times in this industry. And so putting that into perspective and being able to really be strong with those soft skills, I think is something that's important. Again, the hard skills and being able to be knowledgeable about the things in your field is certainly important. But I think, especially in my role, in human resources and helping and sitting in on a lot of interviews and helping make, selections for jobs and things like that, it's really those soft skills that kind of set people apart.
I think that's very powerful and very true. Thank you for sharing that. Tiffany, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I definitely agree with what you said, Mr. Becker. And the hard skills that I've kind of been incorporating into the work I do have been like more of data analysis and like just analysis in general, which I think is important for like hospitality and marketing, just because it is a lot of like assessing what a company has or what a store location or a restaurant location currently is doing, and then assessing how much the restaurant can grow by like either the location or like the target audience that we're trying to hit towards. And for soft skills, I also agree that it's very important because it's kind of like it dictates your work style. And the soft skills I personally use a lot is communication, which is like telling supervisors, my supervisor, what I want, what I'm interested in. And then like right now I'm currently working remotely, which also requires a lot of like communication just because I don't have a supervisor that I constantly see and like can check in with. So that requires a lot of emailing back and forth and like being very transparent about what I did when I worked remotely. And another thing is having initiative, which is like in the work I do, I feel like that's having initiative is the best way you can grow in the position you have and having access to more like intricate jobs and opportunities. So it's kind of like the amount of effort that you put into the work you do is kind of correlates to how much you can expand on your position. And like, yeah, and yeah, that's what I have.
That's very well said, Tiffany. What you put in is what you're going to get out of it, right? Thank you for saying that. And there.
Absolutely. The things that come to mind are flexibility. I mean, right off the bat, the hospitality industry, the sports industry, the entertainment industry as a whole, it changes on a dime. You never know what the next person's going to go through, what the next thing is going to happen, when your sewage system is going to back up into your restaurant, which actually happened once. Due to maintenance issues in the sewer lines that had nothing to do with us. You don't know what the next moment is going to bring. And so having that flexibility, having that ability to just deal with everything as it comes at you and that high-paced environment, but also being able to work with all different people. The hospitality industry, entertainment, sports, every single person comes from a very different background and got there in a very different way. And it is such a broad industry or series of industries that you could be working in Bangladesh at a hotel one year and, doing food service. And then the next year be opening up a restaurant in Italy. And you have to be able to adapt to those different experiences, but also work with everybody. So having that soft skill of being able to communicate, but also to collaborate and to respect the different cultures that you're working with. And I think in terms of industries, the hospitality industry is absolutely one of the most crucial skills that you have to have. And you also have to be willing to give up your holidays because when everybody else is taking the day off for a holiday, that's when they're going out to eat, and that's when they're taking vacations, and that's when they're going to a sporting event. And so you have to know going in that Christmas and New Year's and whatever holiday you celebrate is probably not going to be the holiday you get off. So just being aware of that is always a real plus in this industry.
That's amazing. I know, service industry, service first, right? And that actually leads us, and it's a sort of a segue and sort of a piggyback too. If you could tell our students what transferable skills that make someone employable in this career field, and you've already said that, flexibility and being able to people person, communication, but what else would you like to add to that?
I think one thing that I would add on top of, you know, a lot of the things that we've already talked about is that like teamwork in aspect of it. And I think, again, this comes from, you know, I'm in sports currently. And so like, we're really big on that team environment, you know, in the things that we're doing on the field, but also in the things that we're doing in the office. And I think across this, you know, hospitality, recreation, sports, whatever it may be, you know, I think everyone has to have that team mentality. And, you know, no matter what your role is, what your responsibility is, like we're all in this together. And I think, you know, we have a goal in mind of whether that's, you know, putting on a great event or providing excellent customer service or whatever it might be, you know, being able to kind of roll up your sleeves and do whatever it takes, you know, even if it's something that's not necessarily my job, that goal of, you know, customer service or whatever it is, that's the priority. And so I think that teamwork and knowing that you're on a team a lot of times, and, you know, being able to work together and trust each other, it goes a long way.
That's awesome. Yes, teamwork and customer first, right? Always. Leah or Tiffany, would either of you like to add?
I'll add, the transferable skills, it's interesting when you talk to people in our industry, very few of them, well, let's say very few, but a lot of them come out of school with something completely different, or they went right into the hospitality industry through food service, or their first jobs at a summer camp, or working with coaching little leagues after school. And so it's a very weird industry. A lot of people don't come into it in the traditional route of going, I'm going to go to do this. They come into it sort of organically through their life experiences and through many times their first jobs, that they never even realized how much that they were going to enjoy it. And the industry really builds itself. You know, a host becomes a server becomes a floor manager goes into the kitchen, and you sort of work your way up. So it's an industry where it promotes from within, which is wonderful. But having that knowledge, that basis about being a generalist. We use the term specialist, and this is another question from the database, but a specialist, you do one thing and you do it spectacularly well. But in the hospitality and entertainment and sports arenas, you have to be able to do anything at any time. You don't have to be the best at it, but you have to be prepared to roll up your sleeves and do the thing that somebody didn't show up to do, or for whatever reason, or pitch in wherever you needed. So that transferable skill of being adaptable to the next situation, and being able to work in those high pressure, high speed, moving through it, and just always keeping a positive attitude. So much of that is transferable to any industry at any time. Just, all right, let's do it and let's go for it. And that's a really positive attitude, is a huge transferable skill for this industry.
Thank you, Leah. And you certainly have that attribute, since I know you a little bit. Tiffany, would you like to share, or we could move on to another question? It's up to you.
Sure. Well, I definitely agree with everything Mr. Ryan and Miss Leah just said. And I want to add on that taking responsibility for whatever you do is also really important, and something that should be a transferable skill, just because, like, if you make a mistake, for example, once I was late to a meeting with the actual president of the company, because I was helping someone else with a different assignment. So I was about 5 minutes late, and I didn't realize the consequences of like me being late and how that also impacts other people's times. And then after I kind of thought about what I did and then like how me being late also impacts other people. So then I went ahead and apologized to everyone involved in the meeting. And then that kind of ties in with how like hospitality involves like managing and like taking responsibility for a lot of other people that isn't just you as a person, because kind of like what Mr. Ryan said, everything's a team effort and a team activity. So if you do something, you can take credit for that, but also if you make a mistake by like being late or doing something incorrectly, it's also really important to step up and say, that was something that I did and something that I will work on for next time.
I love that. That is phenomenal. Thank you. Very powerful. So our next question, I am going to segue away from the one I was going to ask and ask this. To perform at this job and advance in the company, in your company, do I, as a student, should I go get a degree? Do I need an advanced degree, a certification? If so, where would you encourage prospective employees to start, and what degree certification do you recommend? Mhm.
That's a good question. I think it's something that I've gotten asked a lot in the past, of, what should I study? What should I do? Do I go to school more? Do I get more work experience? And what's the best path forward? And I think, for a lot of things, there's not really a one size fits all approach. I think, certain jobs, certain organizations, certain industries, there are definitely requirements where, you have to have some sort of degree in this field, or, whether it's associate's degree, bachelor's degree, a master's degree, something higher than that. And then there's others that don't. And so I think it's important, as students, to kind of do a little bit of research into the specific things that you might be interested in, and see what the case is, for your specific interest. So like, for example, where I am currently, with Alexandria Soccer, and thinking about like the youth sports and recreation, I think there's maybe less of a weight on a specific degree or, educational background, and it's more so on your experience and your passion and the things that you bring to the table. I think, sometimes with the education, that can prove some of those things where, if you've gone through and gotten certain degrees and you've invested in your education and your future, that kind of by definition shows a baseline level of a lot of those things that employers are looking for. But it's really, I think it depends on the job and the organization, and really kind of tuning into what those places are looking for. So I think, again, the value of an education is certainly very important, and I would encourage you to find out what those opportunities are within your fields, whether it's like, for me, my undergraduate degree was in business, but then my master's degree was in sport and recreation leadership. And so there's kind of a lot of different areas that you can focus on. Like with my undergraduate degree, I got a degree in business, but I could still, get into a job in the hospitality industry, for example, whereas some others, you might need more of a specific educational background to get into certain fields or certain industries or certain organizations.
And Leah?
Business degrees are always very helpful. They're very generalist. There are lots of ways you can use them. And it's just really good to know whatever industry you go into. Everybody has to make money. We wouldn't work otherwise. We'd all be on vacation. We have to make money. So understanding how that money happens, how it came to be, and making sure that we're using it forward, and understanding all of the implications of that is huge. So taking even a few business courses is absolutely not essential, but very helpful. In the straight restaurant or hotel business, getting your ServSafe certification, which is your food service certification, is very, very helpful. And in some cases necessary. A lot of companies require it, a lot of states require it. But just having that safety and sanitation side and understanding how to keep that you have a responsibility in this industry to keep people safe around you, that the customer needs to be safe and they need to feel safe. Along with that, first aid and CPR. Virginia requires CPR in the schools. And I think that is amazing, because even if you never need it, you've had something to start with, and you just don't know what's going to happen on a sports field. Somebody can be injured so quickly. And in one of my career lifetimes, I was opening a new high school and teaching culinary, and somehow I ended up being I was the athletic trainer, because the athletic trainer went on disability when she threw out her back. And I was the only one in the school who had my first aid and CPR certification. And the football team couldn't practice that afternoon unless I went out there by law in that state. And so having that opened up some very strange doors for me in terms of knowing how to be on the field. And I'd never been a sports person. So this was a real eye opener in a lot of ways for me. And a lot of fun. I mean, it was just a blast working with the sports teams that way. And I did that for 3 years while teaching hospitality at the same time. And I actually ended up getting my EMT license at the same time. And the reason that was so helpful from a sports perspective was I was triaging any injuries that happened to my teams and my players right there. So even though I wasn't riding an ambulance on a daily basis, I was still able to assist the ambulance should an injury happen. I was there to had the training to deal with those right on the field as first line of defense. And so, just having the breadth of knowledge going into different programs and things that you might not have ever expected, but actually might be rather helpful. So taking some of those certifications are just very good background knowledge, just in case.
That is quite a story. Thank you for sharing that. Tiffany, we know that you plan to pursue college, and you've come this far. So maybe just tell us your thoughts on this. I know maybe in about 2, 3, 4 years, it might sound different.
Yeah, so I'm still a high school student, so that's something I'm still figuring out right now. But for me, I've kind of grown up in an environment where I learned that education is kind of necessary in order to get further work experience and kind of go further in the business industry, I guess, just because it does open a lot of doors. So that's why I'm planning on going to college next year. So yes.
That's awesome, and we wish you all the very best. Well, if you had to give one piece of advice to the students interested in pursuing this career, what would that be? And I know you've given a lot of the feedback and be this and that, and just what is that one thing that they should do now?
Right now, I think it's really important just to kind of like what I said earlier, get in touch with your college and career center just because they are a really good branch for opportunity. So let me see. How do I reiterate this? I don't know. I think just reaching out to your college and career center and applying to as many internship positions, just because personally for me, I think it helped me get a lot of understanding of how the job industry works, and just kind of taking into consideration everything that you've done, whether it's clubs or other extracurricular activities that you might do. Take all of that into consideration of what you like and don't like about working in business or whatever industry you plan on going into. So yeah, and then just working and kind of combining all of that in order to find the industry that you're interested in.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Ryan or Leah, would you like to add, or we could move on to another question?
Yeah, I can add on to that. I think Tiffany made a lot of great points, and it's important to try a lot of different things and get experience in different areas so that you can figure out really what it is that you want to do if you don't know what that is. And I think the one other piece of advice that I would add to this is it's actually something that one of my college professors told to us as a class, and he was saying, a lot of times in especially in this industry, you hear like, oh, it's all about who you know to get a job, right? And where those relationships are super important. And I think he said that it's about who you know, which is important, but more so it's about who knows you. And I think that's something that really stuck with me was that, I might know certain people because they were a guest speaker in my class one time, but if they don't actually know me, that's not going to help me, right? And so I think it's building those relationships and reaching out and using those college and career services to make some of those connections and help you find people in the industry, and just having conversations with them and learning about what they do and their background, similar to what we're doing today. Honestly, is just getting to know more people in the industry and hear their story and hear what they recommend, and then that way you can keep in touch with them and let them know what you're up to, and give them updates of, hey, I just graduated and now I have an internship doing this and it's been an awesome experience, and staying in touch. So that way that person, it's not only that you know them, but they know you. And so that way when you're looking to apply for a job or do something different, they can be an advocate for you and really say, hey, I know Ryan and I'm gonna go to bat for him because I know the type of person that he is, and that he's going to be a great addition to any company or whatever it may be.
Thank you. That's awesome, Leah.
I think my one piece of advice would be open to the left turns. And that's the piece of advice I give my son and I give students when I talk to them, is be open to the left turns. When you take a step in a direction, try it out, but don't be worried if that doesn't fit you. Take that as a stepping stone to take a left turn and go, well, that taught me this. Where can I go now? What can I do with what I just learned? Sometimes what you learned is this isn't for me, and that's okay. So just being open to those experiences and those left turns. This is a huge industry. There are a million different opportunities and ways to be involved in hospitality and entertainment and sports that you can't pigeonhole it and say, well, I don't want to be a part of this industry. You don't know that, because even if you're interested in IT and services, every industry needs that. We need those jobs. And I would argue that in hospitality, we even need more of them. But just being open to all the different opportunities within hospitality and entertainment and recreation, because there are a huge number of them. So try them out and just take a step in a direction and be open to that left turn.
That's awesome. Well, I think I hit a gold mine when I decided to moderate this group, because you folks are amazing. I have one last question and just a little bit of time. And that would be, if you give me one moment, do you or your organization check an applicant's social media? What recommendations for cleaning up or keeping clean your social media do you have? So very quickly.
Yeah, I can jump in here. I think it's definitely something that we've done in the past, just to kind of get a little bit more of the backstory on people. And I think some organizations will, some organizations won't, but I think it's always a best practice to really make sure that you are thinking about it in the sense that, people might, whether it's a potential company, it's or a job offer, or, it's out there for the world to see. And so it's just making sure that the things that you're putting online and putting out there, that you're comfortable with the world being able to see it. And I think, you can certainly try to do things to make your profile private so that you're only sharing it with certain people, and that the people that you want to see the things that you're doing are the people who are seeing those things. But I think I would just, definitely be cautious of what you're posting online. And I think, on the opposite side of things, your social media profile can also really be an asset to you getting hired for a position, especially, if there are, if you're looking at a position in like photography or marketing or things like that. Like, social media is a great way to show off all of the awesome things that you're doing, whether you're creating graphics or you're taking photos or you're, editing videos, things like that. So I would say, especially in those sorts of areas, I would encourage you to use it as a tool to help you showcase all of the awesome things that you're doing.
Well said. Annie, Tiffany, or Leah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I definitely use a lot of social media just because that is something like TikTok, Instagram. Those are two things that I absolutely love and I love using, and I use it every single day. But for TikTok, I don't post anything, so I think I'm pretty good on that part of social media. And for Instagram, just like Mr. Ryan said, I like keeping my accounts private just because there isn't anything that isn't like inappropriate to share. I just prefer that, like, since there is people who can potentially look you up, it might be better to have like there's social media that's designated just for workplace, like LinkedIn, which I use, but then there's also personal social media that I personally feel like that it might be better if people have like leave those accounts on private just because so they have a little bit more security in who they are and like what type of person they represent on the outside. So, yeah.
That's true. And I'm glad you brought in the fact that there's LinkedIn for professional use, and then there are private accounts that you keep to yourself. Thank you. Leah?
The hospitality industry is so unique in many ways. And one of the incredible things about this industry is that it gives second chances. It's an industry where people can reinvent themselves, can find new places to belong, and really change, for lack of a better word, turn over a new leaf. But with that comes a huge responsibility of on the industry and its professionals to make sure of what's happening, and you're always putting a face forward. And when you're working in a forward facing group, whether it be customer service or with parents of athletes or whatever it is, you're, for right or for wrong, for better, for worse, you're judged. And so just knowing, like Ryan said, just knowing that there are responsible ways and positive ways to use social media that can really be of benefit to you and your organization. But there are also, severe risks, and just being cognizant of that as early as middle school, to be frank, for students, you already have a digital footprint, and it is already being collated and curated through the web, and that will actually get more and more so. And the buzz being this year is AI, and AI can be your best friend, but it can be your worst enemy with social media. And just being aware of what you're putting out there, because you need to know what other people are going to perceive about you, right or wrong, for better, for worse. It is the reality.
And that's very true. Well, with that, we end our session. I want to thank the panelists who were able to provide their unique perspectives related to the workforce for the hospitality and tourism career cluster. We hope you found tonight to be informative and relevant to your own career interests and goals. Students, you should remember that if you are interested in learning more about any particular career paths that were discussed during the session, you can come to the Career Exhibitors Fair on Saturday, February 17th at the Dulles Expo Center, North Hall, Chantilly, and speak directly with the employers. Again, we want to thank our panelists for joining us this evening. This concludes our session, and the Zoom session will now close. Students, a brief exit survey will launch automatically from Zoom. When you close this virtual session, please take a moment to complete the survey and let us know what was good, great, or what needed improvement. Please enjoy the remaining event sessions. Thank you.